August the 7th. She's sitting right there in about the 4th row. We raised our 3 sons from this district. We raised our sons right here in this district. 4th, I'm a newcomer to politics, but I'm not a newcomer to community service. I've been involved in the church. I've been involved in United Way, Boy Scouts, Rotoma. I've been involved in dozens of charities. My favorite is Myrtle Beach Haven Homeless Shelter. We built a brand new 50-bed facility, $1.3 million, and I retired from that board after 20 years of service in 2007. A couple of years ago, I semi-retired from a law firm. We had some time on our hands, and I was fussing about politics. And my bride said, you either need to do something about it, or you need to hush about it. We decided to run for chairman of county council against a strong incumbent. Everybody said we couldn't win. But with the help of that beautiful lady over there, the good Lord above, and Tom Rice Rice Krispie Treats, we only got 72% of the vote. I decided to run based on jobs, and I decided to run based on local government cooperation. We've made great. Thank you very much.
Chad, you look like you're too far from the microphone. I want you to get close. I want to hear every word you guys got to say.
I'll make sure they do. I appreciate that, Philip. Good evening. I was born here in Florence. In fact, I grew up about a mile from here in Grove Park, so it's great to be home tonight. After a short career in Washington for the first President Bush before he lost his election, I moved back home to South Carolina to Murrells Inlet, started a hospitality business. I've been there for 20 years working in that area. And what I've always tried to do is bring my business experience into government to bring conservative reform. I did it as the chairman of the Horry County Council, where we were able to consolidate services and save taxpayer funds. And I did it working in the cabinet of the most fiscally conservative governor in a generation, Mark Sanford, as his director of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism for South Carolina. We were able to bring accountability to a state agency and to take a financially ailing state park service and turn it into one of the most efficient park services in this nation. I did it by eliminating 2 entire layers of senior bureaucrats in Columbia when I came into PRT, and we made tremendous progress in turning that agency around. I'm basically running to do 3 things. 1, cut the spending, eliminate the deficit, and pay down the debt. Secondly, to repeal job-killing and overreaching legislation like Obamacare, which interferes with the private market and infringes upon the rights of individuals. And third, to change the culture of corruption in Washington. Recently, we learned that 82 members of Congress were using their office budgets to pay for luxury vehicles for themselves. When I came into PRT, I did away with all of the state-assigned SUVs that were assigned to my senior staff as well as my own. That's the kind of leadership and the kind of example that we need in Washington. I will bring that fight to Washington, I will shake up Washington, and I will represent the conservative principles that are so important to the folks here at the PD. Thank you.
Okay, our next candidate is Jim Mader.
Thank you all for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to speak here at the Florence County GOP Debate. I'm not like these other folks. I wasn't born in South Carolina. I chose to move to this state. I chose to live in this state. I choose to stay in this state because this is the best state of the 50 states in this union. Why am I running? I wasn't like you. I sat on my couch. I yelled at it. I yelled at the TV set. I complained, and I got tired of complaining. That's why I'm running. We have a crisis in government. The American spirit is alive and it is out there. It is waiting patiently for the government to get out of the way and decide what it wants to do. What it decides to do by this June with Obamacare will change the fate of our nation, will change the fate of our economy. I want to be there in Washington this January to help lead the country in repairing the damage that Obamacare has done and what could have been done to this country. I want my nation, my government, to get out of my house, to get out of my church, and to get out of my school. We know what we need in this area. We know what we want. We want to be left alone, to fend for ourselves, to provide for our families. We want to work. We don't want to have to wait for our debit card at the end of the month to be filled up again. Our social safety net has been turned upside down. Instead of saving us, it's holding us back. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. We need different ideas. We need different people. We need people that represent you. You, the citizens of South Carolina, you, the citizens of the 7th District, deserve and require someone that is like you and comes from you. I appreciate this opportunity, and thank you very much.
Great job. Okay, we have our last but not least, Dick Withington.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I hope you enjoy the debate. After 30 years working in business and government in Atlanta, I retired from Cellstream in 2001. Our country, as indicated, all of us have indicated throughout this campaign, is in trouble. Like it or not, we're now living in a complicated global economy with increasing demands on resources like oil that used to be in abundance. Water and food will be next. So this is not a time for games, simple slogan solutions, or popularity contests. We have serious work that needs to be done in Washington. First, we must choose the most capable congressman we can find. Here are 4 reasons why you should choose me, Dick Withington. Number 1, I bring over 65 years of life experience with its ups and downs, yet I'm still strong and young. I just had a birthday the other day. I'm 64 and a half again. And I think I will work well with the other members of Congress. I'm the same age as most of the county chairmen. When you have served your country as a military officer, as I have in the Navy, you understand what duty, honor, and defending the Constitution means. 3, my economics and business background is needed right now in Washington. I have also worked over 3 years in both state and federal government jobs. Department of Human Resources and Department of Defense. If you're going to oversee and fix government, as these gentlemen would like to try to do, you have to know how the system works. If you haven't been to my website recently, it is filled with specifics about my educational, military, and business background. Simply dickwithington.org. Number 4, to do what is really best for our country, I believe, you have to have a sense of history. My family goes back to the Mayflower on both sides. The Mayflower Compact established our first government and enabled the Plymouth colony to survive. A lot of people forget, half the members of that crew were artisans. They weren't the religious separatists. They weren't the pilgrims. They were people that were just there, brought along to help with some of the work and so forth. 2 generations of Withingtons answered the alarm of April 19, 1775, and mustered at Dorchester Heights just south of Boston. That was Lexington and Concord. We just celebrated a week ago or so. They all fought in the Revolution. Over 70 Withingtons fought in the Revolution. My grandfather was an Army captain in World War I. My father was elected president of this professional association. Whenever my family and I have given authority and responsibility, we have done well. If you elect me,
Here comes way down Sunday Swing River, guys. Here it comes.
I'll keep my answers short. Sorry.
All right, Bill. I know you got a lot to say. We're going to have a question for you, I'm sure. But that's where we're at now, the question part of this. And we're going to start out with Tim. Will you take it away?
Thank you very much. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the Republican Party of Florence County for having me here tonight. Good to see all you guys again. I've seen all of them on. A quick plug for my show, Caroline, this week, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock. They've all been on. And I want to extend some of the conversation that we had on that show here tonight. I'm going to start off with Renee Collar, who I believe was one of the first candidates who I interviewed. I give each candidate about 15 minutes on my show to talk about themselves and the issues that are facing the Grand Strand and the PD and the federal government and national issues. You spent the majority of that time talking about a foreclosure incident in Texas. Is your heart really in the Grand Strand and the PD, or is it in a vendetta?
Perfect question. My heart is in America. And when you're serving on a federal position, you represent all Americans. What happened down in Texas was full of corruption. Now that we're back in South Carolina, and I grew up in South Carolina in Georgetown County, and you hear bits